What's up, everybody? Welcome back to The Progenitor. This is the show where we go over a director's entire filmography, talking about theme, shots, pacing, and give a brief review all within 30 minutes. So let's get started. And I got a lot to say about this movie, so I got to talk really quick. I made a mistake last week with Black Rain. I know, you're saying to yourself, how can this happen, Steven? Making a mistake at all, let alone such a small one. But Black Rain was actually Ridley Scott's sixth film, not his fifth film. But enough about Black Rain, which I must say was a pretty great B action movie, like we discussed last week. And on to the seventh film, Thelma and Louise. And again, we are back to classic film status, with Ridley Scott directing this amazing film set in the current times on a journey from Arkansas to Mexico with another strange respect triangle with some love sprinkled in between, and a true movie about the bonds of friendship. It is the Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid of the 90s, with a pretty similar type of ending of our anti-heroes racing towards their doom or legend. The film was shot primarily in California and Utah, with the rural areas located around Bakersfield, California, and Moab, Utah. And who likes to live in Bakersfield, California? I'm not sure. I've only passed through it. So continuing on, the Grand Canyon shot is filmed south of the Dead Horse Point State Park in Utah. Other locations included Schaefer Overlook, Monument Valley, La Salle Mountains, and Junction Cisco Old Valley City Reservoir, Thompson Springs Arches National Park, and Crescent Junction in Utah. That's a lot of places and nowhere in Texas, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more later. On top of that, this is the first film that Ridley Scott was nominated for Best Director at the Academy Awards. The film was also nominated for Best Actresses, Gina Davis and Susan Sarandon. Best Original Screenplay for Callie Curry, of which it won the award, actually. It won Best Original Screenplay. Best Cinematography by Adrian Biddle, and Best Editing by Tom Noble. Those were just nominations. They only won for Best Original Screenplay for this film. Finally, his film gets nominated for what he's known for, the visuals. Too bad I didn't win this time. None of this best sound and sound editing garbage. What is that, Black Rain? I don't even remember the sound. But the visuals, I remember those visuals, and it was such a cool movie to watch. So not sure why it wasn't nominated. But this movie definitely deserves it. The way it paints the whole Utah, the whole Grand Canyon. It's just beautiful, beautiful outdoor shots. Ridley Scott is also starting to collaborate with familiar faces like Mimi Polk Gitlin, who helped produce Someone to Watch Over Me, and Hans Zimmer in Black Rain. So this is the second soundtrack that Hans Zimmer scored for Ridley Scott. The first one, of course, was Black Rain. And of course, he did previously work with Terry Rawlings in his first four films, but branched off in Someone to Watch Over Me. And since then, he's been working with different editors. And it's weird how he's been working with such diverse cinematographers. So it almost feels like he's still looking for his visual style. But to me, Jordan Cronenweth is my personal favorite because Blade Runner is such a beautiful film. And sooner or later, I hope to see Ridley Scott as camera operator, because he operated that camera pretty well in The Duelist. So I will never forget that. The film was directed, of course, by Ridley Scott, produced by Ridley Scott. This is actually his first personally produced film, not in the executive producer title. He was actually a producer on this film. And he produced it with Mimi Polk Gitlin, as I mentioned before, Someone to Watch Over Me. Screenplay was written by Callie Corey. She also wrote Divine Secrets of the Yaya Sisterhood, and she helped create Nashville, the TV show. Music was by Hans Zimmer, as expressed before. And again, I'm going to list some other movies that I forgot to list prior, and it's going to build and it's going to build and it's going to build. For example, Thin Red Line, Dark Knight Trilogy, Prince of Egypt, Inception, and Interstellar, Dunkirk. And he's going to keep producing scores and soundtracks for Ridley Scott in the future. So we're going to come back to that. Cinematography by Adrian Biddle, who later reteamed with Ridley Scott on the next movie we're going to talk about called 1492, Conquest of Paradise. Adrian Biddle also shot Judge Dredd, terrible movie, but when I was young, I watched it. I loved it. Event Horizon, loved it. Really great B-movie, scary film, horror film. The Mummy, really great B-movie. And V for Vendetta. I really enjoyed that movie as well. The film was edited by Tom Noble. Not sure if that's how you say it because he's British. So it might be Tom Noble, but I'm going with Tom Noble, who edited Fahrenheit 451 by Truffaut, The Hudsucker Proxy for Coen Brothers, and my personal favorite, Mask of Zorro with Martin Campbell. Now on to the all-star cast. We got a great lineup. Susan Sarandon as Louise Sawyer. She was in Lorenzo's Oil, Dead Man Walking, James and the Giant Peach as Miss Spider. Then we got Gina Davis. She is Thelma, and she previously starred in films like The Fly, Beetlejuice, A League of Their Own, Cutthroat Island. Then you got Harvey Keitel returning for the second time with Ridley Scott, The Duelist. Who's That Knocking at My Door? He's a Martin Scorsese long time collaborator, long time friend. He was in The Irishman, for goodness sake. We're going to move on. Michael Madsen, Reservoir Dogs. Free Willy. I totally forgot he was in Free Willy. He was great in Donnie Brasco, and he is great in Species. What a B movie. Sex scene, Natasha Henstridge, whatever happened to her. I hope I said her name right. Then we got Christopher McDonald, the bad guy in Happy Gilmore, and the bad guy in this movie. Actually, not the bad guy. He's just a big dick. Next up, Stephen Tobolowsky, Groundhog Day and Memento. He was Sidney Jenkins. Was that his name? Someone double check that for me and get back to me. And of course, the Brad Pitt. Now, so many films in this filmography of Brad Pitt. I'm just going to list Troy because he played Achilles, but come on, guys. Come on. Fight Club? Yeah. Curious Case of Benjamin Button? Yeah. There's a ton that we can go through. David Fincher. Oh man, Seven. Beautiful. Wonderful. Anyways, moving on. Wife's Corner. And again, she's not here with us today, but she loved this movie. This is currently her only favorite Ridley Scott movie. And I don't know, she just loved it. And we're going to move on. We're going to move on to themes because right now we are running out of time. Empower female characters. Ding, ding, ding. I mean, the movie is called Thelma and Louise, and the movie is centered primarily on their relationships and all the bad relationships with the crap men that are in their lives. And a really great cop played by Harvey Keitel. But yes, empowered female characters. Thelma starts out a little weak. Louise is always the stronger one. But there's something very delicate about Louise when she's trying to be strong. And it's a really great exploration of her character throughout the film and of both, especially as Thelma learn more about herself and develop as a character. Nature, space is a hostile and uncontrollable environment. Yes, this is the case. I mean, the Grand Canyon is definitely hostile, yet beautiful. And a nice country dance club turns into a possible rape scene. Yep, dangerous. Going around to places you might not know well could get you into trouble, folks. And apparently, don't go to Texas, according to Louise. I'm from Texas, born and raised, so I love Texas. Anyways, moving on. The only way to survive is to adapt. Check. Ding, ding, ding. Both Thelma and Louise adapt throughout this film. For example, Louise actually saves Thelma from her innocuous flirtation with the guy who ends up trying to rape her. Louise shoots the dude dead, and they run off. And Thelma has to adapt or go back to the shitty environment she's from. And she adapts. She learns to be Thelma's partner and work together as a team. They learn from their mistakes and they keep on growing. So, unfortunately, technically, spoiler alert, and you guys should know this by now, there are tons of spoilers in this podcast. They don't survive, but they do get far in their journey and they learn a lot about each other. So, there you go. Ding, ding, ding. Age does not mean a thing. Ding, ding, ding. Honestly, I always saw Thelma as the younger of the two, and she also seems to be the more, the more innocuous of the two. She's not as well rounded than Louise, but Louise also has her own problems because she's trying to get over, a past trauma. But at the same time, all the women in the film appear to be younger than their male counterparts, and they get away from the cops constantly. So they got to be doing something right, right? Anyways, next one. Do not trust rich people. Ding, ding, ding. Daryl Dickinson, the husband, played by Chris McDonald. It's Chris, right? Yes, Chris McDonald. He's a dick, and he's a rich person. I don't know how he became a rich person, but he's the general manager of a rug shop. So he's got to be doing something right, except for pleasing his wife. This guy is a dick, and he lords it all over his wife that he has control over her because technically he makes the money, and that makes him a terrible person. And anyone in this film who has the money or wants the money, they end up being really big dicks. So do not trust rich people. Ding, ding, ding. Next one, violence don't solve a thing, brains do. Ding, ding, ding. All right, so we got Thelma. She holds up a liquor store, but she doesn't do it in the typical way. She does it based on JD's technique. JD is played by Brad Pitt. JD is kind of just about being a gentleman or being kind, not even using a gun or a weapon. So no one gets hurt. They just give her the money. Not only that, JD himself used his brain, seduced Thelma, stole the $6,000 without actually being violent towards her. Although he was arrested, so he's not the sharpest tool in the shed, but he did for a moment have $6,000, folks. Number 7, happy wife, happy life. If Daryl Dickinson, Thelma's husband, actually took care of her and loved her just a little bit instead of being a dick and being out all night, she wouldn't have ran off with Louise and ended up flirting with some other guy and having this whole movie happen to her. Instead, she'd be happy at home. Same thing with Louise. If Louise didn't feel like such an afterthought to her boyfriend Jimmy, maybe she wouldn't have walked out the door. Maybe she would have stayed with him. Who knows? At the end of the day, no one's going through Texas. And this is actually a good point because the film actually kind of hints at Louise having been raped in Texas. And there are points where she says, where Thelma wants to go to the police and says, we should go to the police. Louise gives a very good explanation of why not to go to the police. Number 1, Louise is like, well, you were dancing really flirtatiously with the guy and everyone saw you. So, and look at the way you're dressed. You think that you weren't asking for it? Pretty much that's how the police would have saw it, is what Louise is saying. And she's trying to justify her actions of killing the jerk, Harlan. So at the end of the day, you kind of get a picture that maybe this happened to her and maybe she did try to go to the police and no one believed in her, which is a terrible thing to think about. And you really sympathize for her character. She's played admirably and wonderfully by Susan Sarandon. Sorry, let's keep going. We wasted some time on that, but I thought it was very important because at the end of the day, if you don't love Thelma and if you don't love Louise, the movie won't work. But throughout the film, you're discovering small things about their nature and who they really are and how strong they can be. And at the end of the film, you're rooting for them to escape and you love them. And you just cherish this friendship that they have together. It's a wonderful thing, especially their vulnerable moments, their kind moments towards each other, their loving moments, moments of clarity, things of that nature. It's a very great film. I can't even get to the shots. I just want to keep talking about how wonderful the film is. But okay, we're going to keep going with the themes. Distrust of authority. Ding, ding, ding. In this case, it's not really authority. Maybe it is if you consider it quote unquote a man's world. But okay, I'm going to go through it real quick. Thelma and Louise have a healthy distrust of the men, police, and people of power in their lives. That's why they keep running, or else they could have gone straight to the cops. Certain things, as I mentioned, Louise tells Thelma about why not to trust the cops after being raped, sheds light on Louise's past. And again, it humanizes her a great deal. It makes her a very sympathetic character. Next theme, money is coveted. Ding, ding, ding. Throughout this film, Thelma and Louise need money. The first half is about getting $6,000 from Thelma's boyfriend, Jimmy. Jimmy is supposed to get money from the bank and give it to Louise. So throughout the first half, he's doing that. He gives them money. The second half, frickin' JD seduces Thelma, steals the money. Now they gotta find ways to get money. And the second half is robbing a liquor store to get more money because they need to have enough money to get to Mexico, to get a job, to get more money so they can survive in Mexico. And no one knows if either of these ladies can speak Spanish. So I don't know what kind of job they're looking for, but good luck to both of them. Finally, ding, ding, ding. This is sort of a new theme, although it's kind of been dwelling within all of Ridley Scott's films. It is the battle of the sexes in a sense. So it's men versus women, but unfortunately it's a man's world. So there's a distrust of the man's world. Or is it? So in this film, all the men are dicks or rascals or idiots, except Harvey Keitel, who is the only real man in this film. His character is actually trying to solve a crime. He's trying to sympathize with the ladies. He's trying to understand. And I think that's very important because you also learn to like Harvey Keitel's character. And that's what I mean by the three-way triangle of respect. You have Thelma, Louise, and Harvey Keitel's cop character. And his cop character's name is Detective Hal Slocum. And I've got to say, I love his performance, but his accent is a little iffy here and there. But moving on, he actually wants to help. There are moments that he respects them. Now, moving on to some of the other guys. Jimmy, he's also very nice, but he's just kind of lazy. He doesn't want to commit. All other men are just users or want to get ahead in their career, like Dickinson and the FBI guy played by Stephen Tobolowsky. So it's a battle of the sexes with these two women that are so strong-willed against these men that are completely directionless except for Harvey Keitel's cop character. And that's the only character that actually gets anything done in this film. Everyone else is just piggybacking off of him, especially Stephen Tobolowsky's FBI guy. He just wants the caller to move up, but Harvey Keitel is saying, we got to save these girls. We got to protect these women. Or not protect them, but figure out what is going on. There's more to the story. So I thought that was a brilliant portrayal, brilliant character. There's so many good characters in this movie. Everyone's pretty much very well fleshed out, except for Stephen Tobolowsky's character, and except for Christopher McDonald's character, Daryl Dickinson, because he's got to play the generic dick. I mean, Dick is in his name, so Dickinson. Another wonderful thing about this film is in 2016, the Library of Congress, the United States Library of Congress, they selected the film for preservation in the National Film Registry, finding it culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. Two other films of Ridley Scott's that we've already seen were also inducted into this Library of Congress. That's Alien in 2002 and Blade Runner Now, Blade Runner was inducted in 1993, so it was the first one. I gotta say, Blade Runner is still my favorite. All right, we gotta move on. There's so many good things to say about this film. Watch it again. It's actually on it was on Hulu too. Now we're gonna go to the shots. At 1 minute and 5 seconds, black and white shot of mountains. My wife was like, "Oh, is this movie black and white?" All of a sudden, at 1 minute 20 seconds, it changes to color. So she was happy about that. 20 minutes and 38 seconds. Louise shoots Harlan and there's a recoil. At 21 minutes and 38 seconds, that is the actual shot and recoil. You see the gunpowder and sparks sparking on this pistol. Now, 22 minutes and 48 seconds is a close up of the pistol in Louise's lap. You kind of just, it's just a cool close up shot of that. And throughout this film, there are a lot of close ups between Thelma and Louise and all the main characters. There's close ups to show their emotions and their feelings. I think it's wonderful. 27 minutes and 55 seconds. Harvey Keitel's character, he's interrogating a waitress and he comes off a flirt. He's very flirtatious, very kind, but he knows what he's doing. So I thought that was really good. 39 minutes and 29 seconds. This is right at the moment that Thelma says, "fuck yourself" to her husband. That's the exact moment the F starts, and you can see her lips curling into the fuck. 39 minutes and 38 seconds, Thelma trips over Brad, and he's holding a hose, hosing himself, and it is a sexy shot. 1 hour, 10 minutes, and 40 seconds. So there's a thunderstorm going on, and there's this weird lighting. It's too bright. I mean, I've seen it happen in Texas before, so I'm sure it's a natural occurrence, but you can tell that it's artificial rain. I believe it's artificial rain, and I believe they just oversaturated the set with lights. I could be wrong. 1 hour, 26 minutes, and 50 seconds. This is when Thelma calls her husband, Dickinson. He picks up the phone and acts nice, and she immediately, and this is the immediate moment when she hangs up. It's wonderful. At 1 hour, 47 minutes, and 25 seconds, beautiful shots of the mountains as they're driving. At 2 hours, 5 minutes, and 13 seconds, Keitel is running after the girls in slow motion. This is the next 5 shots are just the ending, pretty much. It starts with Keitel giving chase. Then at 2 hours, 5 minutes, and 28 seconds, the two girls, Thelma and Louise, hold each other's hands. The exact moment. It's a close-up. At 2 hours, 5 minutes, and 33 seconds, the car jumps off the cliff. At 2 hours, 5 minutes, and 37 seconds, you see a hubcap fall from the wheel. I believe it's the right back wheel. It falls off as the car is flying through the air. At 2 hours, 5 minutes, and 40 seconds, it's a freeze frame right at the moment as it fades to white. Now, I love this movie. The ending is very similar to Butch Cassidy when they decide that they're going to go out with a bang. The only difference is it's not per se violent because they're not shooting at the cops. Rather, they're jumping. Their car is driving over the Grand Canyon. It's flying. So, what a wonderful film, everyone. I definitely recommend this film. You gotta watch it. And that's all there is to say about Thelma and Louise. Next week we've got a kicker, folks. It has not gotten very good reviews, but I'm actually excited because my favorite film critic, his name was Roger Ebert. Unfortunately, he has passed for a while now, but he was probably one of the only critics to not completely pan this film. And this film is called 1492, Conquest of Paradise. Now, of course, you can buy the four movie Ridley Scott bundle, but that's expensive right now. You can buy this particular film maybe for $14.99 or $17.99 on iTunes. Or if you have Canoply, the library app, they have it on there. And I believe they have it on Amazon Prime. So, guys, go out, watch this film. We're going to be talking about it next week. And thanks for listening again. Talk to you guys soon. Bye.